All right, here we go with the video. This one is going to be on the Doppler DF antenna, which is should be in your field of view right now. This is slightly different from the one on the first DF. This one I made with square aluminum tubing. The first one was made with angle aluminum. I wanted to make this look a little bit more respectable. However, it's quite a bit heavier, so I think I'll go back to the angled on the next antenna. But this is the antenna. Right now it's facing the right side up. It consists of two orthogonal square tubes, 1.5 by 1.5 inches aluminum, 1/16 inch thick. And there's a third channel here of angle aluminum. This is the mounting strut, which mates up with a vertical pipe or mast to hold the antenna up in the air. There are various markings on the antenna elements. These were originally put there to help me avoid confusion when I was drilling the holes, but I decided it's probably wise to leave them there to make sure that this antenna gets installed right side up, because it can be installed upside down, like that. And if you're not careful, that can happen. So, this is the underside view. I'll go back to the top side view. As you can see, there's a clear caption here that says "this side up." Okay, so pay attention to that. Also, the individual arms are labeled north, east, south, and west with their capital letters. North for here, east for here, south for there, west for there. Capital letters are underlined. So that will tell you which direction the arm should be pointing. The actual direction it points is really not critical. You can point them in any direction and make corrections electrically after it gets installed. But this side definitely has to be up. The mounting bracket also has markings on it. This surface of the mounting bracket mates up with the north-south arm, as it indicates here. Okay. This surface of the mounting bracket mates up with the east-west arm, as it indicates here. And just wanted to point that out. Also, this antenna will break down. When I ship it, I'm going to remove this bracket. Actually, I'll leave it attached, but I'm going to remove one of the bolts, and I'm going to swivel this out of the way. And that will allow me to fold up these arms like a pair of scissors so that it takes up less space for a shipping carton. And that's the reason. That's one of the main reasons for this video, is to explain how it goes back together. I'm not going to actually reassemble it in this video. I'm going to disassemble it, so you'll have to take notes and pay attention to what I'm doing, and then do them in the reverse order when you get the antenna there, because it'll be folded up. And essentially, it's a pretty simple process of removing this bracket, or removing most of it. There are two bolts that hold it together. Here's one, clamping it to the north-south arm, and there's a similar bolt here, tying it to the east-west arm. And if you remove both of those, you will be able to completely remove this mounting bracket. Okay. These are the antenna wires that go from the switching box or the summing box down here, that go out to the end arms. And there's two that for this arm. There's also two for the other arm. I can find out where they are. Right here. And the two main arms are held together by this single bolt, which swivels. There's a 1/4 inch of separation there to allow for clearance for some of the hardware here. And that's the antenna. So this is what it looks like when it's fully assembled. At the end of each arm, there are little plastic boxes with antenna connectors above and below, top and bottom. These are PL259s, one here, one here. each one of these things gets an antenna element. This is what they look like. Okay. There's 8 of them. 2, 4, 6, 8. And that's what they're for. Okay. Now these plug in like this. They're designed to be tightened by hand. That's why there's no flats on this connector. However, I would recommend that you tighten these with a pair of pliers. Not real tight, but just better than finger tight. Okay. Also, I bought a pair of slip joint pliers to do that. I was going to ship that with these units, but I can't find it right now. You may or may not find it when you get this shipment. Depends on whether or not I can find it between now and then. But I did intend to provide some. I'm sure you can get some kind of pliers there. Don't tighten them really, really tight, because you may eventually one day want to remove them. I'd also recommend that you get some sort of an agent in here, like Teflon tape, just a couple of turns to help to prevent this thing from slipping off. It might be hard to believe that these things can slip off, but this thing's going to be outside in the sunlight, and you'll find that over a period of several weeks or even a few months, the heating and cooling going from day to night will cause the metals to expand and contract, and eventually it'll loosen them up. And the one on the top, that's not really a problem, but the one on the bottom has got gravity tugging on it, and eventually it will completely unthread, and the first gust of wind that comes along will shake this thing enough to make the antenna fall off. So, that might sound a little silly, but I've seen it happen before on other antennas. So just take it into consideration. So you want to do something to ensure that this thing is going to stay put once you actually tighten it up. And that's it. That's what the arms look like. Okay, so usually you put these on last. Now these antenna elements are made of 1/8 inch brazing rod. They're rigid, but there's some flexibility to them. If you get it assembled and you look up at the antenna and it looks like the wires are not quite straight, you can just go up there and just grab these things and bend them a little bit, and you know, make it look pretty. So that's enough of that description. Okay. Each of these boxes goes back to the switching box. Goes here, and here you can see underneath. Here's the cable that goes to this box, and there's one for each of the other 4 antennas. Now we're looking at the underside of the antenna. Okay, there's the pivot screw that holds the 2 arms together. There's the 2 cables for this arm, and the 2 cables for the other arm are on the top side. Not visible here, but those 4 antenna, these 4 cables, 2 from this arm and 2 from the other arm, go into the side of the summing box here. And that's what it looks like. And I'm going to put some sealant on that before I ship this thing. You don't have to do anything about this, but I just want to point them out. I had to provide sufficient slack on these things so that I could fold the 2 arms together, and that's why you got this extra cable here. And they're held in place with tie wraps. I've got 2 tie wraps here. I'm going to have to cut these and throw them away, so in order to fold up the arms. So once you get it finally fully assembled again, probably the last step would be to put some tie wraps on here to replace the ones that I'm going to remove, just to keep these things from flopping around in the breeze. So that's pretty much all that has to be said in general. I'm going to point out I'm going to also ship along with this a couple of 7/16 inch combination wrenches, which I'm showing here. You know, these are sometimes used together, sometimes used individually to assemble or disassemble the antenna. And almost all the hardware on the antenna uses a 7/16 inch size hex head quarter 20 volt. So I'm going to include these so you've got them when this arrives. I'm also going to include 4 hose clamps. Here's 2 that are right now. I'm going to include 2 more that are the same size. If it turns out that these hose clamps are too small for the size of the mast that you're using, say you're using a big mast, what you can do is you can unscrew this completely, and you can actually tie 2 of them together in series, and that will double the diameter that you can get these hose clamps around. And how they go on here, it's pretty obvious. This is the antenna facing right side up. Once you get it fully assembled like this, you just slap this, take it up to the top of the mast, slap the mast right in here into this crotch. You can drop this down and tighten up, and put this one on from the other side and tighten it up, and that will permanently secure it to the vertical mast. And once again, if these are too small, I'll give you 4 of these clamps, and you can actually tie 2 of them together in series, like this, for each one of these, and that will double the size of the mast that you can grip with these hose clamps. And you can tighten them up with a screwdriver or that looks like probably a 3/8 inch hex head, but you can use a regular slotted screwdriver as well. And see if I can show that here. It looks like it'll accept a Phillips head also. And that's what these are for. This is there to secure the DF antenna to the mast. So, if possible, you want to get this thing at the very top of the mast so that there's nothing above it, so that it has a clear field of view in all directions, all 360 degrees in all directions. You want to have a clear field of view. And try to keep it away from other antennas as much as possible. I prefer to have it, 10 feet away, but you may not be able to do that, considering how cluttered the top of the control tower is with antennas. But try to do that. Once again, it doesn't matter which way you point this thing, really. There's an electrical adjustment on the direction finder at the back of the display that allows you to electrically rotate this. So if you have to struggle to get this thing pointing in the right direction, don't worry about it, because you can correct it electrically. And that's the antenna. So now I'm going to start disassembling this thing, and we'll see how this goes. Put down the hose clamps. I'll grab, I think I just need one of these. I'm not going to completely detach this thing. I'm only going to remove one of the 2 screws and loosen up the other one. And that will allow me to swivel it so that it's so that these 2 arms can pivot then. So I'm going to remove the bottom screw. These 2 other screws are not really attached to anything. The only purpose they serve is to provide a notch, a mating surface for the tube, so that it sits square against this when you mate it up. So these are only to keep the tubing aligned coaxially with the vertical axis of the antenna. So I'm going to, this is an actual attachment bolt here. There's another one here. I'm going to remove this one, and then loosen this one so I can swivel this bracket up. So, that in mind, this is it. And I'm holding the head on the other side with my fingers to see if it's rotating, and it is rotating. So now I'm going to use the second wrench hold the bolt stationary. Okay. And I might have been turning it the wrong way. Now I should be loosening it up. Okay, now it's loose. We'll remove the wrenches. As you can see here, there's a flat washer and a lock washer on this side. Try to hang on to those and don't lose them. Same thing on the other side as well. Well, there's a flat washer anyway. So, this is now removed. I'm going to set these aside for a minute. Now, one bolt is loose. As you can see now, the arms are loose and you can pivot them. And it's getting some interference here. That's as much as I can close them up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up this other screw, only loosen it, not remove it. That will allow me to pivot this out of the way. So once again, I'm keeping one finger on the head of the bolt. Okay. Just loosen that up. Now, so I'm going to have to loosen it up some more. Now it looks like that's about as much as I can close them as scissors. So that's what it looks like. And now I can put it in a long thin box instead of one big flat box and save some money on shipping. And this is how it'll look when it arrives at your destination. The antennas will be with it also. So, but I'm going to leave this bolt loose. And then when it arrives, actually I better put these screws back while I'm thinking about it. Okay, there's two vertical lines here to show where the bracket's supposed to go. Okay, so I'll put the second bolt back in temporarily. Although it's not going through the bracket, as you can see. The flat washer on, put the lock washer on, put the nut on, just run it down finger tight, because it's going to have to come off again immediately. You get it? Oops. Okay, why can't I rotate this? Guess I tightened this up a little bit too early. Okay, so that's what it'll look like when it arrives. And I'll take these antennas and I'll duct tape them together and probably tie wrap them to the rest of the antenna. And that's how it'll look when it gets out of the box. So, and with that, this video is just about done. This is the control cable that goes down to the direction finder. There are two threaded bosses here, so you can thread lock it to the remaining cable. This is a BNC RF cable that carries the RF signal down to the display unit. And those are the only two electrical connections that you need to the display unit. And this has been tested and worked flawlessly. So, with that, I think I'll terminate this this video. Once again, this is the side that goes up, right? North, west, east, south, and just pay attention to what you saw in this video, and then do this in reverse order, and you shouldn't have any trouble getting this thing installed. So, thanks for your attention. With that, we'll call this quits. Let's see here. I can find my remote control here. So, thanks a lot.